It's strong Republican criticism of how President Biden has handled the Chinese spy balloon. The administration says China did the same thing 3 times during the Trump administration.
This morning, Navy divers urgently trying to recover what's left of a now destroyed Chinese spy balloon after it spent days traversing the U.S. A fighter jet striking the balloon Saturday with a missile.
Rank 1, splash 1. That is a take kill.
The debris field spread 7 miles across shallow waters of the coast of South Carolina.
What the Coast Guard is looking for is where is that payload?
China accusing the U.S. of, quote, excessive reaction to the balloon, claiming it was a civilian airship. Republicans criticizing the Biden administration.
I can assure you that if we fly a balloon over China, they're going to shoot it down, and probably a lot sooner than we did.
Democrats hitting back.
Our friends are playing politics with U.S. intelligence.
President Biden ordered the balloon to be shut down as soon as it posed no risk to people on the ground. After former President Trump left office, authorities discovered that China used spy balloons over the U.S. at least 3 times during the Trump administration. Former Trump administration officials, including Trump himself, have denied the claims.
Era. The third turning is an unraveling, a downcast era. And the fourth turning, well, sorry, but fourth turnings suck. The fourth turning is a crisis, an era of upheaval. We're in a fourth turning right now. So let's take a look at our seculum, our history block. The history block that we're in the crisis of right now. Our high began after our World War II victory. By our, we mean America's. These are America's history blocks and turnings. During a high, the getting is good. We had the most even distribution of wealth during our high. You could work at a gas station and afford to buy a house. This high is the period that the MAGA hats refer to. We got Hank Williams and Elvis and Little Richard and the birth of rock and roll. We launched monkeys and men into space. This is when the Mustangs and Corvettes first came out. Our high ended with the assassination of John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963. The high is not a high for everyone, of course. America still had a segregated South. Homosexuality was illegal and considered a mental disorder. The high is a period of conformity. The age of nonconformity and of social justice begins during the Awakening, our passionate era. During the Awakening, we had Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement, acid, Vietnam protests and Vietnam itself, the Women's Liberation Movement, Stonewall and the Gay Rights Movement, great movies, great music. This is when the first Macintosh computer came out. The Awakening is a time of increasing individualism. This second turning, this awakening, ended with the re-election of Ronald Reagan in 1984. Things get messy during the third turning, during the unraveling. We got the fall of Soviet communism and the beginning of the Russian gangster state. The greatest musicians of the time sang about violence and decay in their deteriorating cities. The LA riots, OJ, the bombing of Bosnia, and the Columbine high school shootings on the same day. September 11th, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Our unraveling ended with the financial crisis of 2008. A fascinating fact about this book is that it was written during the last third turning, published in 1997. But the book predicts now, what's happening now in this fourth turning. And what's happening now is right on schedule. "80 years ago, in the last fourth turning, America had her Great Depression, then World War II. 80 years before that, the Civil War. 80 years before that, the Revolutionary War. Now it's our turn to save the country."
Chinese spy balloon has been spotted, this time over Latin America.
This after the first one led to the U.S. canceling a major meeting with China. CBS 2's Dick Brennan in our newsroom with the latest. Dick?
Well, Christina Maurice, China has claimed that the balloon spotted here is just a weather balloon, of course, that somehow just by accident wound up over sensitive U.S. military sites. Nobody here is buying that, of course, and now the Pentagon confirms a second balloon while the first continues its tour across America. as the balloon still floating over the U.S. was spotted over the iconic arch in St. Louis, Missouri. The Pentagon has now released a statement about a second. We are seeing reports of a balloon transiting Latin America. We now assess it is another Chinese surveillance balloon. And now U.S. officials are putting China on notice.
But the truth is this is unacceptable. China needs to know it's unacceptable, and they need to knock this stuff off.
Up over the U.S., first flew over the Aleutian Islands in Canada, then floated over Montana's sensitive military sites.
But what the heck is that?
The U.S. says that the balloon that wound up over the U.S. first flew over the Aleutian Islands in Canada, then floated over Montana's sensitive military sites. Today it was spotted over Missouri, where pilots were warned to be on the lookout.
Kansas City Center, good morning, derelict balloon after 11 o'clock.
It's expected to stay in the jet stream and head towards the Atlantic.
This thing is weird.
Former newspaper reporter Chase Doak was one of the first to spot the balloon.
And now to the story captivating the nation, the Chinese spy balloon over American airspace.
One of them moving closer to Chicago as we speak. Tia Ewing is at the live desk to get us up to the minute. Tia.
Well, one of the things that you said there is one of them. That's because there are now two flying in the skies. One is over.
And now to the story captivating the nation, the Chinese spy balloon over American airspace.
One of them moving closer to Chicago as we speak. Tia Ewing is at the live desk to get us up to the minute. Tia.
Well, one of the things that you said there is one of them. That's because there are now two flying in the skies. One is over Latin America. And let's talk about the one traveling through the U.S. The balloon traveled